In this video, we're going to be breaking down 4 MLB preseason games happening on August 13, 2026, and providing you with a side pick and a total pick for every matchup. As usual, visit our channel for the rest of today's game picks and stick around until the end because you won't want to miss out on anything. Chicago Cubs versus Washington Nationals. Something feels off about the way the market has this one priced. Take a fresh look at the mound matchup, and the numbers just don't tell the same story the odds are trying to sell. On the home side, a young right-hander who has been quietly turning into one of the better arms in his league, especially over the second half. He's the kind of pitcher who keeps hitters guessing, keeps the ball in the yard, and generally gives his team a real shot every fifth day. On the visiting side, a veteran newcomer still learning the room after being shipped over at the deadline. Yeah, his first start in his new uniform looked crisp, but that came against a rebuilding lineup on a soft night at Kaufman, and one outing doesn't rewrite a season-long story that reads noticeably rougher than the arm across from him. The home team has been alive in every single game of this series, too. They've dropped both, sure, but nobody was rolling over, nobody was mailing it in. They kept clawing back, kept swinging with the kind of edge a team on a recent hot stretch tends to carry. This is the same club, honestly, that just went out and swept a series over the weekend without 3 of its regulars in the lineup at all, so writing them off feels awfully premature. The visitors have been rolling on their end, and they're closing this series looking like the more complete team on paper. The schedule cuts back the other way, though. The favorite is wrapping up a road trip with an early afternoon getaway game after 2 straight night starts, and afternoon getaways following back-to-back night contests are notorious for scrambling routines and dulling competitive sharpness by an inning or two. The home crew, meanwhile, gets its most trustworthy starter of the year in front of a fan base that has watched this club spend most of the summer laughing at its own preseason projections. Stack the pitching edge, the price attached to a home dog, and that sneaky letdown vibe a favorite carries into an early first pitch, and the numbers start to whisper toward the home team pulling one out. As our first pick for this matchup, the Washington Nationals money line is our full game side pick. This series has been a full-blown fireworks show through the first 2 nights. 14 runs on the board Monday, 18 more Tuesday. That's 32 runs across 2 games, and none of it has felt cheap. Both dugouts have been swinging hot bats, both benches have gotten involved, and the ballpark has been rewarding pretty much anyone who's barreled one up. Thursday afternoon in the district is shaping up to be a bit of a broiler on top of all that. 91 degrees at first pitch, that classic muggy mid-Atlantic summer air, and a breeze that isn't exactly pushing baseballs back into the field of play. Warm, dense August afternoons along the Potomac have a way of turning routine flies into souvenirs 3 rows deep, and the home team happens to lead all of baseball in balls that leave the yard. That's not a small detail. Add in a relief corps on the home side that has quietly been one of the leakiest in the sport all year, and there's a very real chance that whatever the starters do through the middle innings, the 6th, onward turns into a scoreboard party. Pitching could still steal this one, in fairness. The right-hander towing the rubber for the home team has been in stingy mode lately, and if the newest arm on the visiting staff carries over the crispness of his last outing, this could theoretically turn into a pitcher's duel. That would be the clean, boring version. The recent trend lines, the forecast, the shaky relief situation, and the sheer thump on display in this series so far all keep pointing in the same direction, though the historical patterns back it up too. Games featuring the visiting side as the favorite have been going high more often than not lately, and games featuring the home side as the underdog have been doing the exact same thing. When the market and the momentum both nudge you toward the same window, it usually pays to peek through it. As our second pick for this matchup, over the projected total is our full game total pick. Quick commercial break. You know the deal. If you want to get our exclusive best sport picks to take things to the next level, then check out our Patreon in the link down below where we offer our best single picks, parlay picks, and much more. Go check it out. Commercial break over. Now back to the game. Philadelphia Phillies versus Minnesota Twins. There's something almost cinematic about this whole setup, and I get how cheesy that sounds, but hear me out for a second. A regular season baseball game staged in the middle of an Iowa cornfield, streamed live on Netflix, both teams walking out through the stalks like it's 1989 all over again. That's the kind of atmosphere that can swallow guys who aren't ready for the spotlight. And once you peel back all the sepia-tone nostalgia, what's actually left is a starting pitcher mismatch that just keeps tilting in one direction the more you look at it. For Minnesota, the guy on the mound is riding the best stretch of his career and has gone 5 or more innings in every single one of his last 11 starts. That kind of consistency doesn't grab flashy headlines, but it keeps a bullpen fresh and keeps his team hanging around games they probably shouldn't even be in. For Philadelphia, the man taking the ball has been chasing his old form all year, coughing up multiple runs in nearly every appearance and even taking a scary comebacker off the knee not that long ago. That's the kind of moment that doesn't fully vanish from a pitcher's head just because the X-rays came back clean. Then there's the bullpen conversation, and honestly, it's a loud one. The Philadelphia relief crew has been shaky most of the season, ranking near the bottom third of baseball and blowing leads or muddying things up in the majority of games since the All-Star break. Over that stretch, the Phillies have gone 9-13, and it isn't the offense's fault. The bats are still hitting. It's the back end of the pen giving runs right back, and in a small, intimate ballpark like this one, where the crowd sits closer and every moment feels a little heavier, late innings tend to play even more like coin flips. Now sure, the counter is obvious. Harper, Schwarber, and Turner sit at the top of that Philadelphia order, and they're capable of doing damage against anyone walking out of the corn. Those three are the reason the Phillies are still tied for a wild card berth right now. And it's only fair to admit that Minnesota hasn't exactly been on fire either, going 3-7 across their last 10 and dragging around a lineup that has been beat up with injuries all summer. But here's the wrinkle worth chewing on. The team from the Twin Cities is treated as the home team on this night, and their bats happen to punish curveballs about as well as any group in the American League. It just so happens the Philadelphia starter throws his knuckle curve as his most used pitch this season. That isn't the kind of coincidence you want on your side if you're the road pitcher. Add in a scrappy, urgent Twins club sitting only a game and a half back from a wild card spot and playing with real stakes on a massive national broadcast, and things start lining up in a very particular direction. As our first pick for this matchup, the Minnesota Twins money line is our full game side pick. Something worth sitting with here is the weather picture out in Dyersville. Meteorologists have been tracking a band of storms that could either burn off before first pitch or linger right into game time, and even the cleaner windows in the forecast still bring cooler temperatures and heavier air than a typical August evening tends to serve up. Humidity like that quietly pulls carry off a baseball. Fly balls hang up just long enough for outfielders to track them down. Line drives that should split a gap end up in a glove instead. It's not a guaranteed dampener, but it's a nudge, and you'd honestly rather have that nudge working with you than against you when you're eyeing a total. There's also the question of what both lineups have actually looked like lately, and neither has been especially loud at the plate. Each squad has trudged through extended stretches where the bats have flat out gone missing in the second half. Drop two chilly offenses into an unfamiliar ballpark with weird sightlines, awkward stadium lighting, and a crowd that's arguably more locked in on the cornstalks than the strike zone, and the pace tends to slow way down. Hitters press early, take marginal pitches, work deeper counts, and the next thing you know it's the sixth inning and the scoreboard still reads 3-2. The venue's own history is actually kind of a fun subplot here. Two prior MLB games have been played at this cornfield site. One turned into a wild 17-run shootout that lit up highlight reels for years afterward. The other was a tight 4-2 grinder that felt way more like a chess match than a slugfest. So the setting itself doesn't lock you into any one style of ballgame, but the ingredients tonight, the sky, the sluggish bats, the intimate ballpark that isn't especially generous to power, they all lean the way a better hoping for a quieter evening would want them to lean. Now yeah, pushback exists. Corn beyond the right field wall means any ball that clears the fence turns into an instantly iconic moment, so a couple of long balls are absolutely baked into the storyline possibilities. On the right kind of night, either dugout has enough thump to just kick this thing open in a single inning. Fair enough. But weighing the sky, the way both offenses have been dragging their feet, and the general feel of a game where players might be soaking up the atmosphere as much as they're grinding out late-inning runs, this one leans a very specific direction. As our second pick for this matchup, under the projected total is our full game total pick. Texas Rangers versus Los Angeles Angels. This series has already flipped the script on everybody who penciled the visitors in for an easy 4-game vacation on the West Coast. The home side has taken 2 of the first 3, and the whole conversation heading into the finale sounds a lot different than it did on Monday morning. Honestly, the market still wants you to trust the resume gap here, and that is exactly where the value is hiding. On paper, sure, you have a 2-time Cy Young name against a 22-year-old kid who was still in the minor leagues 15 months ago. Look closer though, and the whole thing flips again. The kid has been arguably the sharper arm in the entire American League West for a couple of months now, sitting under a 3 earned run average, holding 5 of his last 6 opponents to a single run or less, and already carving up this exact visiting lineup earlier in the season for 9 innings of work with 1 run allowed and 10 strikeouts on the ledger. That is not a fluke sample size, that is a scouting report. The veteran across the diamond, meanwhile, is having what would honestly be a career-worst season by his own lofty standards. He can still hunt whiffs, nobody is arguing otherwise, but the home run ball has become an actual issue for him this year, and he has been chased earlier than he wanted to be more than once already. Stack that on top of a visiting offense that has looked completely lost for 2 straight weeks, hitting around .220 over their last 10 games and getting muzzled by a rookie starter with a 7+ career earned run average just last night, and the picture keeps getting friendlier for the home dugout. The Halos are playing this stretch like nobody told them the season is basically over. There is no pressure, there is a bullpen finding its groove again with a hard-throwing arm back from injury already trusted with a late-inning save, and there is a home ballpark on a mild summer night where the crowd genuinely knows how to smell an upset brewing. The visitors, meanwhile, are getting squeezed by the wild card standings, watching game after game slip away with the same eerie silence out of a lineup that was supposed to bully teams like this one. When one side plays loose and the other side presses, weird things happen, especially in a getaway spot late in the year with a plane to catch. As our first pick for this matchup, the Los Angeles Angels money line is our full game side pick. Angel Stadium after sundown in August is one of those quiet little pitching sanctuaries that never really gets the credit it deserves, and Thursday night is shaping up to be a textbook example of why. The marine layer creeps in off the coast, the air gets heavier, the ball stops carrying out to the gaps the way it does in the afternoon, and warning track fly balls go to die on the track instead of the seats. Now put that environment on top of the 2 arms actually scheduled to work, and you can already sense the shape of this one before first pitch. On one side, a young starter with an elite velocity fastball, a changeup that grades out inside the top handful in the entire league by StatCast run value, and a habit of steamrolling opposing lineups through 5 or 6 clean innings on a nightly basis. On the other, a veteran who might not be the same guy from his prime anymore but is still, without any real argument, a bat-missing machine sitting comfortably inside the top 15 in the majors in strikeouts. Both of these guys hunt whiffs, both of them work efficiently when they are locked in, and both of them are walking into a matchup between 2 of the coldest offenses in the entire sport right now. The home group is batting under .200 as a team for the entire month of August, and that number is dead last across baseball by a genuinely uncomfortable margin. The visitors are barely doing any better, scoring under 4 runs a game across their last 10 and getting completely handcuffed by a rookie the very night before this one. When both dugouts are freezing at the same exact time, when both starters are actively suppressing contact, when even the ballpark and the weather are working with the pitchers instead of against them, the number turns into a very steep hill to climb. The betting patterns back this whole thing up in a way that is genuinely hard to ignore, with one of these clubs cashing the under in 20 of their last 25 games, which is not a small sample size. That is basically a personality trait at this point. The pushback, of course, is that a single mistake pitch or a middle relief hiccup in the 7th inning can flip the whole equation in a hurry. And that is a fair concern in absolutely any baseball game. When the arms, the bats, the ballpark, and even the weather all point the same direction though, you take the value and let the variance sort itself out. As our second pick for this matchup, under the projected total is our full game total pick. Milwaukee Brewers versus Los Angeles Dodgers. Thursday nights at Chavez Ravine in the middle of August tend to carry a specific rhythm, that late summer contender vibe where every pitch feels like it's building toward something bigger, and this one slots right into that pocket. The home side sends out a young flame-throwing right-hander who spent the early part of the season figuring out how the big league puzzle actually fits together, and lately he's been solving it right in front of everyone's eyes. Over his last handful of turns through the rotation, the results have been the kind that make hitters mumble something under their breath on the way back to the dugout, with quality starts stacking up and swings and misses coming in bunches. The visiting side, meanwhile, hands the ball to a rookie left-hander getting his first real taste of a full major league workload this summer. Here's the thing, this particular home lineup, top to bottom, has been one of the most punishing groups against left-handed pitching in the sport for a while now. That's the kind of matchup profile you circle on the schedule when it lands on your desk. The season series between these two clubs sits 2-1 in favor of the home team, and the recent depth additions to the pitching staff have quietly reshaped what the late innings can look like on any given night. The trade deadline brought in a genuine ace. Another established starter just rejoined the mix off the injured list, and suddenly the roster shape feels a lot closer to what we saw in October a year ago than what we saw stumbling through the last 2 weeks. Yeah, the recent stretch of losses has been rough, no denying that. But this is still a defending World Series club playing at home under the lights, with a pitching matchup that tilts in its direction and a lineup capable of ending an at-bat in about half a second. Honestly, when you tune out the recent noise and look at the underlying pieces on paper, this feels like the kind of spot where the class of the league group gets back to doing what it usually does at home in a big spot. As our first pick for this matchup, the Los Angeles Dodgers money line is our full game side pick. Southern California summer evenings have their own personality, warm enough that the baseball still carries with intent, with a light breeze that shows up more as a whisper than a factor. The forecast points to a comfortable night with barely any wind at all, which basically nudges things a hair toward the offenses without swinging the game one way or the other. And here is where things get spicy. Both bullpens walk into this one carrying real question marks, and that almost always matters somewhere between the 6th and the 9th. The home relief corps has been patched together with rehab returns, recent activations, and a ninth-inning situation that has genuinely been shaky most of the summer. The roadside, on the other hand, leans heavily on a small handful of high-leverage arms, and when a game stretches deep into the night at the end of a long West Coast trip, those margins tend to shrink faster than expected. The style of the road offense is worth calling out too. They do not rely on the ball leaving the yard to put crooked numbers on the board. They put balls in play, they run the bases with real aggression, they capitalize on defensive slip-ups, and they have built one of the most productive run-scoring offenses in the sport without any of the traditional slug that usually shows up on a leaderboard like that. That style tends to keep innings alive when they should be over, and it puts extra pressure on tired arms trying to close things down. Meanwhile, the home offense features a group that can, quite literally, flip a scoreline with a single swing from just about any spot in the batting order. Even the two starting pitchers, both of whom have flashed some genuinely nice stretches this year, carry some batted ball data underneath the surface that suggests hitters have been squaring them up a bit more often than the raw earned run numbers would tell you. When you stack up a warm evening in the ravine, two pitching staffs juggling bullpen worries, a road team that manufactures runs like it's punching a time card, and a home lineup that can blow a game open in a single half inning, the picture that comes together is one where the scoreboard operator probably wants to keep the coffee close by. As our second pick for this matchup, over the projected total is our full game total pick. That's all for now, so if you have any other games you would like reviewed, then leave a comment down below with the game you would like analyzed, subscribe to our channel, leave a like on this video, and we'll get to it as soon as we possibly can. We would also love to hear your opinion on the picks presented to you in this video, whether you agree or disagree with them, so leave a comment down below and do let us know.